Hello, everybody, and welcome to Teacher Talk Live. I'm excited today because our episode is all about Teacher Win. We have some amazing educators that are going to be talking to us about their successes in 2014 and 2015. I think it's a time to celebrate. I think it's a time to support each other and celebrate each other's achievements. So I'm very excited to hear from everyone.
Welcome to Teacher Talk Live with your host, Oscar Cielo Staton, and featuring our distinguished guests.
All right, everyone. So we're going to start. I would love it if you guys could introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your background. So let's start with, I'm going to just start from what's my left screen, which is probably your right. So Alexis, tell us about you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis Ivey. I just completed my first year of teaching. I came to teaching from an alternative career path, and I work in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but I am originally from Florida and North Carolina.
Awesome. Brian, tell us about you.
I'm Brian Smith. I'm in North Carolina. I have taught kindergarten and exceptional children, K-6. I'm currently working with RTI and professional development for Newton Conover City Schools, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. And next up is Daniel.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Dan Blanchard. I'm from Connecticut. I'm a special education teacher. I've taught special ed and regular ed at all the levels, high school, middle school, and the elementary schools. I'm also an author and a speaker. Thank you.
And then we have Dr. Greg.
Hi, I'm Greg Goins, and I'm the superintendent of the West Frankfort School District in the state of Illinois. I am also an associate professor in the Educational Leadership Program from McKendree University. And I'm about 100 miles east of St. Louis in the lower part of the state of Illinois, and glad to be here.
Welcome. And then Felecia.
Hello, I am Felecia. I have been teaching for 15 years. I teach Math 1, and I am from North Carolina, originally from South Carolina.
Oh, I'm actually in North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte.
I'm in Salisbury.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Justin?
Hi, my name's Justin Birckbichleer. I teach 4th grade in Northern Virginia, and it's my second year, and I'm just really excited to be here.
Awesome. Welcome. Megan?
Hey, I'm Megan. I am going to be teaching 3rd grade. It's my 10th year. I came through an alternative certification also, so worked in marketing before that. I am a top teaching blogger at Scholastic, along with Brian, and a National Fellow for Hook Street Group this coming year.
Awesome. Welcome. And Melissa? Oh, Melissa, we can't hear you. Try to fix it, and we'll come back to you. Let's go to Renaldo.
Yeah, sure. Hi. Oscar, I must meet you this summer. My sister lives in Charlotte, so I'm in Charlotte every summer.
Definitely. Let's have coffee.
I'll let you know when I get there. I'm Renaldo Lawrence. I'm from St. Matthew, South Carolina, but I live in London, and I've been in England for probably about 28 years. I'm a lynda.com author, which I've just produced my first 2 courses trying to help teachers use multimedia in the classroom. I'm also an Adobe educator, an Apple Distinguished Educator, and I teach year 12 and 13 digital literacy and multimedia content.
We're really glad to have you, and I'm really excited about hearing your perspective from out of the country, out of the U.S. So
sure,
that's great.
It's different.
That's great. Let's go ahead and begin. So this episode, you guys, it's all about celebration. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear even past success stories because I think everyone needs to hear them. We don't take enough time to tell our story and to praise each other as well. So who wants to begin? I'm going to open the floor. Whoever wants to begin.
I think I'm the furthest away, so shall I?
Okay. Yes, tell us about it.
What my job involves is I build digital experiences for teachers and students. So what I do is I teach, but I also sit down with teachers and look at their curriculum. I take their curriculum and digitize it. So we create content for the iPhone, for Android devices, for the iPads, and whatever else. My experience has been quite a positive experience. I don't think that, to be honest with you, I don't think my experience in terms of the younger kids, I prefer teaching the older kids because I think I can give more and I have much more value in terms of my experience in terms of helping them out. I enjoy teaching anything from year 10 on up because you see, when I was growing up, man, I was that kid in the back of the class who didn't want to be there. And I was that kid in the back of the class who tried to find a reason not doing the homework. And I was lucky enough that at year 10, I played basketball, and I had a guy, Mr. Oscar Dason, who took the time with me and let me know that there was more to my life than just living in a town with 2 traffic lights.
Right.
So what happened then was I got a scholarship. I played in the NBA. I played for the Clippers for a minute. When I got cut, I went to Europe. I ended up being the 4th leading scorer in the history of British basketball. I just had a son who played in the Olympics for Great Britain. And I have a daughter.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I had a daughter who just graduated. So things are good, and I'm trying to use my experience to let kids understand that I don't care where you come from. You can do whatever you want to do. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to all the heartaches that I experienced as a child in the classroom, all the times not wanting to be there, I'm trying to use that to put into these apps that we build and share it with teachers and share it with the students.
Right. Right. So who else wants to tell us more about a teacher win that they've had? Something really exciting and successful that you guys have done this year.
I'll go.
All right. Felecia?
I had a couple of failures, which kind of led me into defining a definition for hope. And a lot of my failures came from my students not being to grasp my concepts in Math 1. So it kind of led me to go out there and search for different things that will kind of grasp them in the classroom, connect them with the material. So with that failure, I've learned to do standard-based grading. I have learned to do PBL. I have learned to integrate a lot of technology in the classroom, and it only came from my students' failure, and it kind of led to a success within myself.
Right. And Felecia, I think it was you said you have a definition for hope. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, so HOPE stands for having opportunities to pursue excellence. And I kind of also gave that to my students. So all opportunities, including this opportunity, Twitter, PLNs, everything that provides you with opportunities is going to lead you to hope. And once you have hope, and once your students have hope as well, like anything is possible. They start believing in themselves. And as a teacher, I define hope with myself because even though I didn't have a lot of success with my students understanding the material, it actually led me to learn other things in education. And it kind of made me a better educator myself.
But I'm sure you inspired them, which is the big part of the battle. So.
Yes, and they inspired me as well. So it was like a two-way street.
That's awesome. Let's continue. Who wants to go?
Well, I'll piggyback on that with the technology. I this year implemented a Twitter wall in my first grade classroom, and so to do that, I used chalkboard paint, painted over a door that we weren't using, and just put lines on there. And then the kids, at first I wanted to be really in control of it and kind of use it as a sentence writing kind of thing, but I found the more that I let go and let them take over, the better it became. So it started out, saying, okay, we're all going to write a sentence about this, work on our best sentences, and the best ones will actually get tweeted at our first grade. And
Megan?
Yeah?
Your audio is coming in and out.
Oh, no. Okay.
I love that.
Well,
But I think we catch most of it. Go ahead.
I'll keep talking. What happened later in the year is I would start putting in facts that they learned, things that they were interested in, things that they heard, and I got everything from crazy animal facts that they read in a book on their own to hashtag don't bully and all sorts of things. So it kind of became a wall that they took over, and it was a really fun part of our classroom, and it was something that they started looking into themselves. So I thought that was a big win in first grade.
That's really cool, and it sounds really innovative from what I gathered. Who wants to go on?
I'll kind of piggyback from there.
All right.
Kind of like what Megan was saying about how the students kind of took success, or took it and ran with it. We did 3 big projects this year, one being Genius Hour, where the students kind of picked their own topic and just kind of ran with it, made whatever presentation that they came up with. I'm just going to screen share real quick and just run through some of their presentations. All right, so down here, so each student picked their own topic, what they wanted. And so we have some students here. She wrote a poem. He made a model. She made a poster. We had a lot of people doing, you see a lot of slideshows. They really took that and ran with it themselves. I didn't really give them much direction on what to do. They really picked their own topics. I just made sure it was school appropriate. And then from there, they made their own presentations. And they kind of stepped up as leaders in helping each other. If we come up to this picture, this particular female student couldn't remember how to cut and paste. So this boy jumped in and helped her cut and paste. So that was one example of how they really stepped up and really took charge of their own learning. Another thing that we did was Reader's Cafe, where the students basically ran their own restaurant. They each had jobs. This boy right here is being a host. He's greeting our principal. She's taking the orders. The chefs are filling the gourmet snacks of goldfish and pretzels. The busboys rinsing off the plates. And then it all culminated into this is kind of a panoramic picture of, and now it froze, panoramic picture of what we were, the end goal was. So we see the students are reading to other students in the classroom. We had some of our school board members come and read. The parents came in and we read to them. We served them snacks. We ended up serving over 500 different people throughout the whole year, or over a course of 3 days. And that was all student run. I basically just told them when the next class was coming, and then they kind of just took over from there. So I was very proud of the way that they really took ownership of their own learning, and they consistently did that throughout the year. We did green screen skits where they would have to write the skit, rehearse the skit, memorize a skit, perform in front of the skit. They also found the green screen, and all I did was the technical video editing behind the scenes. So they did an incredible job, my students, this year, and I cannot commend them enough for really taking leadership of their own learning and making it their own.
That is really cool. I love self-directed learning, and Justin is only into his 2nd year of teaching, you guys. So
That's great.
very commendable. So that's awesome. So that Justin, what you showed at the end, that's the culmination of it?
Yeah, this one, or I guess it would help if I would screen share it. This picture right here is kind of the final result. And you see that the boys here are serving the snacks, the bus people over there are rinsing, the waiters, I think, were completed by that time. I'm not even in the picture, I'm the one taking the picture because they're running everything themselves. Teaching you guys, so
that is really cool.
Very commendable, so that's awesome. So
Justin, let's continue. Who's next?
Okay. Just to expand on what Megan was talking about with Twitter, I love that idea, Megan. I'd like to learn more about what you've been doing. One of our primary goals in my school district this last year was to really enhance community engagement, and we really turned to Twitter as the means to do that, and really heavily influenced by Eric Schenniger and the whole digital leadership component. And we use the district hashtag And in terms of community engagement, we had a phenomenal year in terms of getting our story out there and letting people know about all the great things happening in our school district. So that was a great experience for us.
I love that idea, Megan. I'd like to learn more about what you've been doing. One of our primary goals in my school district last year was
so everyone, if you could just mute and maybe we'll get rid of this feedback. One of the important things that we need is to have headphones on, because that can cause feedback. So let's see. So let's go to Daniel. Daniel, go ahead and tell us your teacher win.
Well, thanks, Oscar. As you know, as teachers wear a lot of different hats, and the relationship and the successes that we have with our homeroom students are maybe different than our academic students or the kids we coach. And I've got an interesting story about a kid that I tutor. And we keep busy, don't we? School's over and we go right back and we get more, right? We do more by tutoring. I walked into a kid's house recently, and I looked at his mother and I was like, "Where is he?" And she kind of shook her head, like she was scared, and kind of pointed towards his bedroom. And I was like, "What's going on here?" So I walked down the hallway, opened up his bedroom. I'm standing there with his mother. He's sitting on his bed, shaking. He wouldn't even look at me. Shaking. So I'm sitting there trying to talk to his mom, trying to talk to him. Of course, he couldn't answer me. He wouldn't even look at me. His mother was telling me about a phobia he had and that he had been bullied and all those sort of things. And he hasn't left the house in a year. And he can't do schooling. He can't do anything. And he couldn't even look at me. The kid was so scared. So I looked at the mother and I looked at him. I tried to get his attention. He couldn't look at me. I looked at his mother again. I said, "How about I come back tomorrow?" And she goes, "I don't think it's going to make any difference, but you can try." So he came back tomorrow. She had to do the same thing. Came back the day after. And then next thing you know, within a few days, I had him in his living room. And we had his TV on, and we were talking about a TV program. And within a few more days, I had him reading. Turned out he was a great writer. And I had him writing like nonstop and sharing his writing with me. And he was really impressive the way he was able to write. And I kept asking him, I said, "Hey, how would you like to go to the library and get a book and do some of this writing?" Until he wouldn't do it. He was terrified. Wouldn't leave his house. My heart was breaking for the kid, but I'm thinking at least I made progress. I've gotten him out of his bedroom. I got him in the living room. He's talking to me. He's looking at me. We're doing some work, and I'm really impressed with his writing. So I asked him more about the bullying, and I asked him to write about the bullying. And he started writing amazing things about the bullying to the point where I think that he could actually be like a group leader someday with bullying. Well, to make a long story short, this went on for a while, and next thing you know, I got him in the library. Couldn't believe it. I got him in my car, drove him to the library. Shortly after that, I got him in my car, drove him to the museum, the art museum, where we spent some time at the art museum and wrote about the art museum. Within a couple of weeks, I got him in my car. I drove him to the river, and we sat in the river and wrote at the side of the river on one of the benches. I drove him all over. We went out for ice cream one day, surrounded by other people. His mother said she had never seen anything like this before. Just a complete victory, a wonderful, wonderful story about the first boy that I met shaking there in the bedroom, refusing to look at me. Too scared to look at me, too scared to talk to me, too scared to engage with me. And there I have him going out in the community on a daily basis, bringing them different places, having them do different things, and writing about it and sharing. And I truly believe that what this kid has been through and how far he's come, that someday he will be back in the school system, and someday I think he will be maybe a group leader for bullying, and I'm just really, really happy about the whole thing. Oscar. Thanks for giving me an opportunity.
Dan, I commend you for your persistence. I mean, that is exactly what makes a difference in our students' lives, So
Absolutely.
that's
Thank you for letting me share that story.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Who wants to go on? Melissa, are you back with audio? Oh, I'm so sorry. We cannot hear you. Maybe you can type it in our chat feature. By the way, Ruby Ramirez, a principal in Dallas, wasn't able to get on because apparently Google Hangouts can only allow 10 at a time, and she said all teachers should definitely take this summer to relax, debrief, and develop their craft through professional reading and engaging in PD. Most importantly, enjoy life so you can take on the new year with bold determination. Great words. Reminder that the Q&A is on, so anybody not on here can still participate. So let's continue. Anyone else want to share a story about something that happened to you this year?
My wins aren't necessarily always huge wins, but they're little wins throughout the day. As kindergartners come in, we start with everything kind of being a win, like, oh my goodness, you know how to line up now. Hashtag little win. So it's and it's the reflecting on those wins every day that make you go, okay, now looking back 4 months later, 8 months later, I can go, oh my God, they grew so much, but it's in these little bitty steps that you have to kind of acknowledge teacher wins along the way and in the little grades.
and especially in kinder, those years, I love those years because, like you said, there's from a few months you see so much growth. So you have like gratification there.
It's constant. Like some days you're like, oh, you did not cuss today. Win.
How long have you been teaching kinder?
I did 3 years.
Oh wow! And you love it, right?
It's the absolute best job I've ever had. Like I like my job now, but kindergarten just like there would never be anything like it.
Wow, wow. My absolute favorite grade to teach has been second grade, and it's mainly for that reason that I told you, that growth factor. Because in second grade, they just finished with first grade where they're just so not independent. They require you for everything. And so in second grade, right from the beginning, I trained them to just, be able to be in charge of their homework, be in charge of their pencil, be in charge of their paper, all that stuff. And so you see this growth, this huge growth by mid-year that is just so rewarding.
It is. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
To piggyback off Brian, I also teach kinder, so that's been quite the experience this year. As my first year, and like I said, I transitioned from something different. I actually transitioned from a career in law, so when I was told I was going to be teaching kindergarten, I was like, okay, okay, well, we'll see. So having to learn to speak kinder, I definitely think is a teacher win. But one of the wins, I think, is obviously, like you said, the phenomenal growth. All of my students this year, they were at or above level, even my IEP students. So I think to all the first year teachers out there, don't let anyone tell you that you can't be effective. It's definitely that belief and that drive and that every day celebrating the little wins. And at the end of the year, was just in tears because the students were really internalizing how much they learned. And without my own prompting, we have a community circle, but at this point in the year, they know how to run the circle. And so they were telling me, I remember when I first got here, I couldn't write my name, but now I can read and I can write and I can do all these phenomenal things. And I was trying to play it off with my glasses, but I'm bawling because I'm it's great that I know these things and these are the things that make me excited and get me excited every morning to come here to see you guys. And these are the reasons that I keep getting up to teach, but the fact that you know that as well, it just meant so much. So that was my teacher win for the year.
Alexis, did you have experience with little kids before?
No, my mom really likes, so my mom kind of has always been into early child care. She has a daycare service, but that's more of her thing, so not really. I have nieces and nephews, but no, little kids are not at all.
Wow. And so now you fit great with them, right?
Exactly. So now I love kinder, and Brian said, I can imagine leaving. I've been offered to leave kinder, but I'm just I can't leave them.
Wow. Yeah, that's one grade that I've always feared. In the past 15 years, I've always taught second, third, fourth grade. I love those ages, but anything below that, seems to just so much work and so different. So I commend you guys. I mean, that everyone fits differently, so it's wonderful. Let's go on. Who's next?
All right. I think a teacher win for me would definitely be seeing my students getting the understanding that math is not hard. I teach ninth grade, and I teach Math 1, and we're new to Common Core. So having students come to me as a freshman, as a new high school students, again, even with the kinder teachers, I can celebrate the little wins because it is definitely a hard transition year for them. So little wins for me, even though they can line up, little wins is them actually understanding that math is not hard. I try to really make sure my students know that math can be fun, so I integrate a lot of technology. We do a lot of PBL. We do a lot of things on multimedia. So I try to integrate all of those things so that I can make sure that they understand that math is more than just numbers. It can be really fun. And I think that was one of the biggest success for me as well, that they finally understood that, look, I can do math, even if it's not at the speed that everybody else can do it. They had that hope at the end, and so I know that next year they will be successful as well.
Good for you. Felecia, good for you, because ninth grade, I would really take kindergarten over ninth grade.
You know what? They're at the same playing field. Kindergarten and ninth grade, I think we kind of deal with the same issues and situations with both sets of groups of kids.
Except in a different way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So everybody, feel free to share out. But I have some questions that I want to share with you. And I forgot to tell you at the beginning what it says at the top. May the celebration go beyond today, because I think definitely this is something that we need to be doing every day with our colleagues and with our friends, always celebrating our achievements. I think that's so important for the soul. So,
Oscar, can I just throw
Yes.
one up out there? This is my my first real year being at the school I'm at, and I can categorically tell you that the kids really didn't like me when I first got there, because they were year 12 and 13, and they had been so used to doing things a different way. And I sort of challenged the norm, and they used to talk about me like a dog, to the other teachers.
Oh wow!
And no, it was cool. I loved it, because that means you're doing something right. If they're not talking about you, then you're not doing something right. So the more negativity I get, the better I feel, every day. So what happened in the end, to make a long story short, is that the kids finally came around, and out of the, I think, 14 kids that we've got for the units that I teach, 12 of them would get distinctions, 1 a merit, and 1 a pass. So it's amazing how they stuck with me. They didn't want to, but they had no choice, and things actually worked out for the better. So it's kind of different. But can I just say, the story about the best story I've ever heard in my life, man, I think it's Daniel's, the story about that kid. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
I agree.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. So you guys, I do have a question for you, and anybody can pick it up. What is your one lesson your kids taught you this year? Because as we know as teachers, they do teach us a lot of lessons. We're there to learn as well. So who wants to share something that their kids have taught them?
I think
I always learn a lot.
As I said,
Okay.
I think. Okay, I'll go. I think, as I said earlier, my kids really taught me hope. They really struggle with math, and the one thing, no matter whether they got a 20 on an assignment or an 80, they never gave up. I could give a student a F on every assignment, but the next assignment they still worked really hard for me, and that taught me as a teacher myself not to ever give up. So my kids really taught me hope, and it went beyond the classroom. It taught me hope in my personal life as well as an educator, and that's a gift that my students gave me that I will forever be grateful for.
Right.
And I'll kind of jump on top of that in a similar vein. My students really just taught me a lot about how to be just a real compassionate person. We had two students in particular that had a very, very hard time making friends and making good choices and all that kind of stuff. And truth be told, if I were a fourth grader, I probably would not have been so kind to those students, just because how rude and disrespectful they were to others. But time after time, students would step up and try to be friends even when they weren't being friends. And it was rough for the students that they basically were putting themselves in the line of fire in order to try to be a friend to those students. So you can't really ever underestimate how far that kids will go to make sure that everybody's included.
Right. And fourth grade is when that transition begins to happen, into teenage years, and the fourth, fifth, sixth grades are when they need a lot of guidance. So, yeah. So, anyone else want to contribute to
Oscar,
something that their kids taught them this year? Yes, sir.
Oscar, I tried something a little bit different this year, and I formed a student advisory group at my high school for the sole purpose of trying to get feedback from them about what they want with technology in our school district. And I was blown away at some of the information and comments that they provided. And, those 2 or 3 meetings actually led to some pretty significant changes in our school district. Because of that meeting, we were able to go out and design our own school district phone app. And we were able to do some things with student tech teams throughout the district. And it was a very powerful way to, listen to the natives. What do they want? What kind of experience do they need as they go through the school setting? And that was a very powerful experience for me.
And Dr. Greg, you as a superintendent, I love that you are embracing technology and embracing innovation, because you're in a position to make a big impact on the students. So I commend you. Melissa, are you back?
I am back, I think.
Oh, awesome. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm having a lot of issues.
But you made it.
My name is Melissa, and so I am a 7th grade math and science teacher in Webster Groves, Missouri, which is St. Louis. And I've been teaching almost 10 years, and so I guess that's it. Oh,
awesome. Awesome. Tell us about the question I just asked. Is there a student a lesson that a student taught you, or your students?
Yeah. So one of the things we've been working on I guess the last couple years, my teammate and I, we started 20% time in our classrooms. And it's we have created into a year-long project. And so it's been super, super cool. Kind of like I've heard some other people talk about it, just about the student-driven learning. We have kids that does anything they've ever wanted to learn about or accomplish or do. And kind of some really cool things that we do with it. We kind of have a Shark Tank or a pitch day where they have to pitch their idea to, we call it the bigwigs of the district. And our superintendent is involved, our assistant superintendent, our principals, curriculum coordinators, our kids. We get our choir teacher involved. They teach them how to present and how to talk and be respectful and have a strong voice. And so they pitch those ideas. They either get them accepted by the committee or not accepted. And then from there we kind of move on with different things, just really incorporating the district, the community, with an idea showcase, which is kind of like a science fair type of idea where we invite parents, teachers, other than what they've been doing. And we kind of end the year, go on air, and then we invite parents, community, district members to come, and each kid does a TED Talk in front of, currently we had anywhere from about 100 to about 700 at time viewers. So
How cool! So you guys do TED Talks?
We do. Each of our students
That's
do
so
TED Talks.
fun.
Yeah,
That is so cool.
it is. It's cool.
You know, hearing people talk about 20% and all that, it really makes me think about how many districts are open to that idea, to letting students be self-directed. So as more projects like that happen and more successes, I hope it catches on a lot more because there's plenty of evidence to see that self-directed learning really does work. So, yeah. Awesome. So the next question I have, and anybody feel free to jump in, the next question I have is, who cost you the biggest smile this year? Think about maybe a student or even a colleague who did it for you this year. Somebody?
Oscar.
Yeah.
Jump in on this one. This year, my students really caused me to smile, and they definitely taught me something. Kind of going back to that other question as well. They definitely taught me that there's a lot of positive ways that teachers positively influence their students. So, for an example, like I've been a history teacher for the last 10 years, where I pretty much was running the show, and this year, I'm a special education teacher where I'm kind of more like in an assistant role. So I was kind of wondering, how is this going to work out? Am I really going to have the kind of influence on students that I used to have? Am I going to be able to make kids, show that, have that joy on their face, that joy of learning, and that joy of I really like my teacher and I really like being here. I'm not going to really be the one that's running the show. So how am I going to do that? Since I was really worried that I wasn't going to have the type of year that I normally have with all my students, due to the fact that I was in a special education, sort of like an assistant role. But during that role, as I was going around through all the classes and all my different students, what I learned was that in that role I could do it too. My students became, very receptive to what I was doing, how I was working with them. They were very happy, constantly smiling, and I was seeing that I didn't have to be the guy in charge in order to positively influence them. There were other ways that educators influence their students, in the right direction and make school and just the learning process enjoyable. So no matter what role you end up in as an educator, you can do it. You can do that and make a difference. So I'm happy that my students had that smile on their face this year, and thus I had that smile on my face this year also, because I know that I made a big difference with my students this year, even though it was in a completely different role.
Daniel, I think one of the qualities of a good teacher is one who can adapt. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on. So if anybody wants to share anything else about that, you can. But the next question I have is, what's your best tool outside of technology? Because we talk a lot about technology, which is important, and let me pre-made technology, which is important to say, because we teachers are inventive. We can be really inventive. So what is something that you have under your tool belt that we can all benefit from?
I really feel like my best tool outside of technology is passion. It's also what I have learned from my students. I can really get my kids excited about anything if I show the passion for it, but it really is a two-way street, because my kindergartners are passionate about everything, and so therefore I become passionate about everything, and that just makes a fun classroom.
And they're just fun to begin with, so it's a total win.
That's exactly right.
I think
a little win.
I think passion is another thing that's crucial to a good teacher. yeah, if you don't have that, the job becomes just too hard. So, who
Well,
else
every
wants
book you
to?
read has to become your favorite book.
Right, right.
So I think for me this year, I've grown my kind of personal learning network a lot. So, technology is certainly involved in that, but also getting out there and attending some different conferences, paying for myself, making sure that I'm taking the time, whether it's a Saturday or whatever, to get out there has just really, it's one of those things that keeps my passion going. I get really excited about what I hear other people doing. And I learn so many new things that way. And then anytime I'm gone for that, whether it was a school day or not, when I get back to the classroom, I'm just so excited about whatever the new thing is. So I think taking that time for yourself, whether it's summer or Saturday or an evening, reading something, connecting with other educators is just a huge part of what's kept me really excited.
Megan, and the passion factor is there in the fact that, I mean, look at us here. We're all connected, and we have people from London. We have people from all over the place that actually do have the ability to get together and collaborate. So that's a pretty amazing outcome of technology, and who knows what's coming up next. So, yeah. Anyone else want to talk about pre-made technology? The next question I have is, anyone want to tell us about the biggest hurdle that they've overcome this year? Because there's always hurdles throughout the year, as we know. But what is one that you've overcome that you're really proud of?
Go
ahead.
So kind of like Daniel, my job description kind of changed in the middle of the school year. So not only was I responsible for my homeroom, but then I kind of became like an interventionist during times where my homerooms were at special and working with other students throughout the school to help increase their reading scores. So that was definitely a challenge, not only feeling like I was responsible for my homeroom success, but responsible for the students that I saw in intervention. But it was just really great to get to know all the students. It was our first year at the school, so it was just K. So getting to know all of the students by name was definitely great. And even students who weren't in my homeroom, like when they would come and tell me at the end of the year their reading scores, and they were so excited, and like they were hugging, and like they would introduce me to their parents at the end at graduation, and they were like, I don't know if I've ever met you. Like, are you sure you're their teacher? And I was like, well, no, I didn't work with them all year, but I only worked with them at this certain time during intervention. But like we've had a really great relationship. So I think kind of like Daniel said, you just have to be in there. Your job description might change, but you don't know how much of an impact. And like it was something that I really enjoyed, and I was like, I would have never thought that was something that I could do as a first year teacher, but being forced to do it is definitely something that it's quite a challenge. But I was glad to come over, and I'm glad for the experience. So
you proved to be effective just by being adaptable.
Right.
Being your first year in the job, that is really commendable. That's awesome. That is really awesome. So the next question that I have, let me see. Let me go here. The next question that I have for you guys, you can either answer one or the other, or both. What other educator do you attribute your success to? If there's someone, a mentor or somebody that really molded you, that really influenced you, or tell us about your biggest teacher influence growing up.
I'll talk on the second question, the who is your biggest teacher influence growing up. Without a doubt, well, first and foremost, I didn't plan to get into education. I originally was going to go culinary, and then I kind of switched my mind in high school, and then I'm glad I'm in education now. But looking back, I realized that the teacher that I aspire to be is my second grade teacher. Mrs. Wendy Gessie is her name, and I mean, she has since retired, but I have her cell phone number, and I'm constantly texting her saying, like, can you help me out with this, or I loved when you did this, could you just kind of refresh my memory? She just made everything so much fun. She just made everything, she genuinely cared about each and every one of us. And it really made me feel like I was her own personal child, and I learned a lot from her, but I felt the care from her, and that's what I really try to instill in the kids, that yes, the learning is great, that's important, but I want them to come to school and feel like that's a safe place, that's where they're supported, and that's where they're going to feel loved unconditionally. And so I aspire to do that every day, and she really motivated me to do so.
Justin, what grade was that?
She was my second grade teacher.
Wow, that is so cool. She must be so proud that you still reach out to her for advice. That's amazing. That is so cool. Someone else?
So I can speak to the influence of the educator. So I was in marketing and advertising, and I went back to get a master's in teaching. And I looked at schools that were in populations where I knew they would be in a lot of need. Not realizing it, I got into a school that was in its second year of transformation. So it was one of the lowest performing schools, not only in the state but in the country. And had a new principal, down to new custodians, built around this idea that we're going to succeed, no excuses. So not only was the principal incredibly inspiring and a workhorse every day, but she had the forethought. We didn't have a mentoring program. And she put the math coach in my room for the first 3 weeks of teaching. And I was student teaching in my own classroom. I didn't even have my degree yet. And that mentorship over those 3 weeks was incredible, set me up for success for the year, and then started a friendship and a coworker friendship as well that has kept on through the years. So even though we're in different schools now, different districts, that's who I turn to and that's who I go to. And as a win of the school became the national turnaround model about 3 years ago. So it went from one of the lowest performing schools in the country to one of the highest over the years that I was there. And so it's something I'm really proud and I carry with me, but I owe that success entirely to the forethought of this principal to put this incredible mentor in my classroom to coach me along. She's a principal now, which is great because she can in turn do that for others.
That is really cool. I actually wanted to share with you guys the origin of this tie. This is a teacher tie, and it was given to me by a teacher friend of mine that has since passed away, Marcelino Martinez, and what he taught me was just incredible. We were both teaching second grade at the same time, and I would walk into his room, and it was just like a magical wonderland. The time this man put into decorating his classroom and making it pristine and beautiful, it was just a really inviting place. And so anyway, in his memory. Anyone else want to share a story about a teacher?
I will.
My inspiration.
Talk to you about a mentor.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Me? Sorry, I don't want to talk over anybody, but you know, my teammate Don Eckert was supposed to be on here as well, and there was too many people. He is, you know, the only person that I have ever worked with, and he hired me and kind of chose me fresh out of college, and kind of like you were just speaking about, it was a relationship. I mean, from the beginning, we clicked, and he is always pushing the envelope, always thinking outside the box, and you know. One of the saddest things is that he actually retires next year, which breaks my heart. Oh my gosh, it breaks my heart to even think about. And so, but even knowing that he's retiring next year, he never stops. Every year he comes to school thinking of new ideas and what he can change, and he keeps pushing himself and always just wanting to do things different. And it's always about what is best for kids. And so, you know, he really helped mold myself as a new teacher, and we've been together almost 10 years. And to have someone like that that just inspires you and helps you push yourself. And, you know, it's tough when sometimes you're a teacher who's always doing things differently and non-traditional. And, you know, you get, I don't know if this is always somewhere, but you get kind of talked about, like, what are you doing? You know, is that really teaching? And he always just taught me it doesn't matter. It's always what's best for kids. And if that's what's best for kids, then this is what we're going to do. And you don't worry about the naysayers, and you don't worry about what people are saying. And to have someone like that, where your friendship is grown past professional. We are friends outside of school. Our families are friends. It's a really inspiring thing to watch someone who has taken their whole career and truly dedicated every single day and starts every year like it's his first year, and just with that enthusiasm you have as a first or second year teacher. And so though he can't be here, I know he's listening, but I just, I hope he knows how inspiring he is to so many people and to myself. So
Don Eckert, shout out to you.
Yeah,
You're
shout
awesome.
I have a guy I mentioned earlier, Mr. Oscar Dason, who is now about 87 years old. And one thing Mr. Dason used to do for us is Mr. Dason used to open the gym up from about 8 o'clock at night to 1 in the morning. And unbeknown to me at the time was he kept it open to 1 to keep us off the streets. So we just thought he was being nice. But he saved a lot of lives by doing that and kept us out of the streets. So it's a big shout out to him. And, my senior year, we won the state championship. And although we had another coach, he was always in there with us when the other coach wasn't there telling us what to do. So it was really neat that when we won the championship, it was because of him, not actually because of the other coach. And so every summer I go home, I take him out to dinner, and we reminisce. And it sort of broke my heart last summer to see him where he is sort of not really mobile anymore, but it's just nice. And I remind him all the time of just how much impact he's had on some other people's lives. And I think that's what I would like to do as an educator. If I could impact one child's life to make their life better, I think when I die, I would have done something worthwhile to me, and that's all that matters to me.
That's wonderful. That really is so beautiful.
My inspiration was actually my kindergarten teacher. Her name was Miss Joyce, and I wanted to be a truck driver going into kindergarten. And leaving kindergarten, I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. So, hopefully I'm her teacher when. But I just remember always feeling accepted and learning things differently, and how she was like, yeah, you'll get this, it's not a big deal, and there wasn't this high pressure, and that's kind of what I strive for.
Wow. I can't believe you still remember your kindergarten teacher. I vaguely remember mine.
She actually lives around the corner from where I live now.
Oh, wow.
And I remember being in kindergarten thinking she was near death, had to be in her 80s. And of course, this is 35 years later, and she's still alive, so she must have been in her 30s.
Wow.
But she seemed so old back in the day. Which is exactly what my kindergartners think of me.
That's really cool. All right, so the last one I have, because we are running over now, if anyone can finish this sentence, fill in the blank. I teach because.
I get an opportunity to meet people like you guys each and every day, and having the opportunity to meet other people who are changing other people's lives, it just gives me the spirit and the willingness to go on. So I thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to meet all of you. And Oscar, I thank you for creating something like this that allow us to meet people who otherwise we would never ever meet.
It's a really exciting time where we can get together and do this. So yeah, thank you for being here. I mean, I think it's wonderful. So Justin, I teach because.
I had to take myself off mute. I teach myself because I want to give the best to every student that I touch in education.
Nice.
And I just feel like if, I don't want to take that risk that if I'm not teaching someone, someone can come along, but on this other side, someone not as better, and I give my all every single day, and I want to make sure that they get what they deserve.
Right. And let me just say it should also be I teach because or I lead because. So that goes to you, Dr. Greg. And the rest of us as well.
Yeah, and I lead because I want to inspire other people to achieve great things in their lives and to give kids the opportunity to do things that they never thought possible. And I think that's why we're all educators, and that's why we're all here to share the success we've had this year. So, again, Oscar, I thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I teach because I think it's God's gift to me. So I teach because I want to honor him in the things that he has allowed me to do to inspire and motivate students. So I feel compassionate about it because I want to use the gift that he's given me to give back to other students.
Wow.
Yeah. Definitely, I agree with Felecia. I think I also teach because I obviously went into law because I believe in advocacy. And one day, if I'm sitting in the last day of law school and someone says that education is the highest form of advocacy, and I was in public defense law. Exactly. So I was in public defense law, and I said, you know, I would rather not have a job as a public defender if I can go teach kids to be advocates for themselves, to be advocates for their communities, to be advocates for brighter futures, and just anything that. Just any possibilities. I've been so blessed in my own life and my own educational experiences, and I can take those things back and give them to children. Like, at this point, it's like, I mean, I totally agree that education is the highest form of advocacy, and every day I work to instill that from students. And I think the wonderful thing about Kinder and why I can't leave is because it's where students start off at school, and like if you can get them started off on that journey loving school and knowing that they had someone who really believed in them, that like, you know, that's where school starts. And I know that every morning I got to go see someone, no matter how inconsistent my life is, I got to go see someone who cared for me, and for about 8 to 9 hours I had that one consistent thing going on for 180 days or 180 plus days. Like, I had that going on for me. Just to see the trajectory, like, they know that I cry for them because like when they own their reading and they own their, just like, you know, you don't understand right now.
Okay.
So many doors. So that's what I teach.
Oh, that's Alexis. You guys, your stories are really touching me because I've only been outside of teaching for a year, and it makes me miss it so much. So it's so beautiful that you guys are telling these stories. Who else? I teach because.
Well, I teach because I believe in the power of education. You know, similar to what Alexis said, but I truly believe that's the only way things change is through an educated population that strives to make those changes.
Right. Right on. Right on. Anyone else want to share their why do they teach?
Sure. I teach because, as cliche as it sounds, I want to make a difference. And kind of like I think Renaldo was talking about, that I want to make a difference in, even if it's just one kid's life, and I know that that's the difference that I made. You know, that's what I'm in it for, is to hope that you show these kids that they are loved and cared for, and that, you know, we're their advocates, and, you know, how to be successful in this world. And, you know, that looks a lot of different ways, but I mean, I feel like that's what most of us go into teaching for, is because we want to care for other people and, you know, make that difference in the world. And I believe teaching is the way to do it.
You know, because it's crazy, because a lot of times that's the only stability some of these kids have.
Absolutely.
Is you know, so.
Absolutely.
And in those formative years is when we catch them, you know, instead of later on when we're trying to prevent issues when they become adults. So at every grade is where we can make a difference and we can impact them before, you know, things go south. So it's a wonderful thing. Anyone else, if you guys want to share anything else out, we've gone over time, so if there's anything else that you want to share, please feel free. But let me just restate that may the celebration go beyond today, because this is only an hour show, but just a reminder to celebrate your colleagues and to celebrate yourselves, because our jobs are hard, you guys. I don't know if anyone has it easy where they're at, but it's a tough job, but it's like we've seen today, it's really rewarding. You guys, anyone want to make any final comments before we go off air?
Oh, I can tell you this, Oscar. You're absolutely correct. Our jobs are very difficult, way more difficult than the common people outside of education realize. And I know that with this summer break coming up, myself and probably, you know, hundreds of thousands of teachers across the country, we're probably going to try to get a little bit more sleep and maybe drink a little less coffee. The world. Yeah, Drew,
yes,
you're right.
The world, yes.
The world. A little more sleep and a little less coffee.
All right. So, anyone else before we go? Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you guys being on and sharing your stories. Let's continue this. I actually will do an episode sometime in the fall, a repeat episode of this, because I think it's so important to re-energize each other and to hear these stories of these people. So it's a wonderful thing. So thank you for being on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.